Hey there, fellow preppers! Out here in the wild, survival hinges on one crucial thing: preparedness. We all know the importance of stockpiling supplies, having the right gear, and knowing how to use it. But there's another layer to preparedness that's often overlooked: safeguarding those vital supplies. Imagine a scenario, a natural disaster, an economic collapse, or any situation where your home security is compromised. Your supplies are your lifeline, and keeping them out of sight, hidden from prying eyes, becomes just as critical as having them in the first place. Today, we're diving deep into the art of concealment, exploring ingenious ways to hide your essential supplies, keeping them safe and accessible when you need them most. We'll be covering 13 must-hide items that could be your saving grace in a crisis. So stay tuned, because this information could be the difference between weathering the storm and being swept away. In the wilderness, your map and compass are your lifeline. In a crisis, your vital documents serve the same purpose. Passports, birth certificates, land deeds. These aren't just papers. They're your identity, your proof of existence. Losing them could mean losing access to essential services or even your own home. Now, the obvious hiding places, like a safe or a desk drawer, are usually the first places looters will target. We need to think smarter, more like a squirrel hiding its nuts for winter. Consider waterproof containers tucked away in unexpected places, behind a loose brick in the fireplace, inside a hollowed-out book on a shelf, or even buried in a discreet spot in your backyard. Remember, the key is to be creative and unpredictable. Think about places that are easily accessible to you, but wouldn't cross the mind of someone searching your home. The goal is to make your documents invisible, blending them into the background so they remain safe and sound, ready when you need them most. Out in the wild, I always carry a basic medical kit, but in a crisis, your regular medications could become even more vital. Imagine a scenario where pharmacies are inaccessible, supply chains are disrupted. Your hidden stash of medications could be the difference between managing a chronic illness and serious health complications. Now, we're not just talking about hiding a bottle of aspirin. Think about life-saving medications, insulin, heart medication, anything you absolutely cannot afford to be without. The trick is to make them invisible, yet easily accessible to you. Consider a false bottom in a drawer, a hidden compartment behind a mirror, or even a hollowed-out space inside a wall stud. The key is to be discreet and strategic. Remember, your health is paramount, and securing your medications is as vital as having a first aid kit in the wilderness. In the wilderness, your headlamp is your lifeline in the dark. In a crisis, batteries become the fuel for essential devices. Flashlights, radios, communication devices. These can be lifelines when the power grid goes down, and without batteries, they're just useless hunks of plastic and metal. Now, storing batteries isn't just about throwing them in a drawer. You need to consider factors like temperature and accessibility. Extreme heat or cold can degrade batteries, rendering them useless when you need them most. Think like a resourceful scout. Create a hidden compartment in a cool, dry place, like inside a hollowed-out book on a shelf, behind a removable floorboard, or even within a disguised container in your garden. Remember, accessibility is key. You need to be able to get to your batteries quickly when the lights go out. In a survival situation, money might seem irrelevant, but in a crisis, cash becomes king. When banks are closed, credit cards are useless, and bartering systems emerge, having a stash of cash can be your ticket to essential goods and services. Now, hiding cash isn't about stuffing it under your mattress. We need to think like a seasoned smuggler, employing clever tactics to make our valuables invisible. Consider dividing your cash into smaller bundles and hiding them in multiple discrete locations. Think about hollowed-out curtain rods, fake electrical outlets, or even a small waterproof container buried in your garden. The key is to spread the risk and make your valuables as difficult to find as possible. In the wilderness, my backpack is my survival arsenal. In a crisis, your emergency supplies serve the same purpose. We're talking about the essentials: flashlights, first aid kits, multi-tools, the gear that can make the difference between navigating a crisis and succumbing to it. Now, storing these isn't just about piling them in a closet. We need to be strategic, ensuring they're accessible yet concealed from prying eyes. Think about creating a hidden compartment under a floorboard, behind a removable panel in a closet, or even inside a cleverly disguised piece of furniture. Remember, in a crisis, time is of the essence. Your emergency supplies need to be readily available, but also hidden well enough to deter opportunistic scavengers. Think like a squirrel stashing its nuts, making sure your lifeline is secure. Out in the wild, fire is essential for warmth and cooking. In a crisis, fuel and propane become your lifeline for these necessities. When the power grid goes down, a simple propane stove can become your primary means of cooking, and a generator can provide essential electricity. But these resources are also valuable and can attract unwelcome attention. Securing them is not just about storage, it's about making them invisible to those who might seek to steal them. Think like a wilderness guide, camouflaging your supplies. Consider a discreet shed with a hidden compartment, a buried storage container with a camouflaged lid, or even a false wall in your garage. Remember, your goal is to blend these resources into the environment, making them invisible to the untrained eye. In the wilderness, hygiene can be a challenge, but in a crisis, maintaining cleanliness becomes even more critical. Sanitation breaks down, access to clean water can be limited, and the spread of disease becomes a real threat. Your hidden hygiene supplies could be your first line of defense against illness. Now, we're not just talking about hiding a bar of soap. Think about essential sanitation items: soap, hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, even toilet paper. These items become precious commodities in a crisis. Think like a resourceful survivor, creating concealed storage solutions that are easily accessible but out of sight. Consider a false bottom in a bathroom cabinet, a hidden compartment behind a medicine cabinet mirror, or even a discreet storage container tucked away in a linen closet. In the wilderness, a whistle can be your lifeline to signal for help. In a crisis, communication devices become your link to the outside world. We're talking about two-way radios, satellite phones, anything that allows you to send and receive information when traditional communication channels are down. Now, hiding these devices isn't about just stuffing them in a drawer. They need to be accessible, yet concealed from those who might exploit them for their own gain. Think like a secret agent creating a hidden compartment in a piece of furniture under a floorboard or even inside a hollowed-out book on a bookshelf. Remember, in a crisis, communication can be the difference between isolation and staying informed about potential threats or rescue efforts. Your hidden communication devices are your lifeline to the outside world, so keep them secure and ready to use. Out in the wild, shelter and warmth are crucial for survival. In a crisis, spare clothing and blankets become your shield against the elements. When disaster strikes, you might be forced to evacuate your home, and having a hidden stash of warm clothing can be essential for surviving harsh conditions. Now, storing these items isn't just about tossing them in a box in the attic. We need to be smart, protecting them from moisture, pests, and prying eyes. Think like a seasoned prepper using vacuum-sealed bags to compress clothing and blankets, maximizing storage space and protection. Consider hiding these vacuum-sealed bags in discreet locations, under floorboards, behind removable panels in closets, or even inside a camouflage storage container in your garage. Remember, warmth and comfort can be crucial for maintaining morale and physical well-being in a crisis. In the wilderness, foraging for food can be a challenge. In a prolonged crisis, garden seeds become a lifeline for long-term sustenance. When grocery stores are empty and supply chains are disrupted, the ability to grow your own food becomes an invaluable asset. But seeds are delicate and require specific conditions for storage. They need to be protected from moisture, extreme temperatures, and pests, all while remaining hidden from those who might see them as a valuable commodity. Think like a resourceful farmer, creating a concealed seed bank. Consider a waterproof container hidden in a cool, dry place, like inside a hollowed-out wall stud, under a floorboard in a basement, or even buried in a discreet location in your garden. By safeguarding these seeds, you're not just storing food, you're preserving a future harvest, a symbol of resilience and hope. In the wilderness, I always carry a knife for protection. In a crisis, self-defense items become even more critical for personal safety. When law and order break down, you become your own first responder, and having the means to protect yourself and your loved ones becomes paramount. Now, hiding these items isn't about creating an arsenal, but rather ensuring responsible and discreet storage. We need to be mindful of safety, especially if there are children in the home. while also making sure these items are readily accessible in an emergency. Think like a security expert, creating hidden compartments in strategic locations. Consider a false bottom in a drawer near your entryway, a hidden panel behind a mirror in your bedroom, or even a discreet lockbox disguised as an ordinary household item. Remember, the goal is to deter potential threats while ensuring your ability to protect yourself and your loved ones. In the wild, sometimes you have to adapt and find a new route to safety. In a crisis, backup transportation can be your lifeline to escape a dangerous situation. We're talking about bicycles, motorcycles, even a small off-road vehicle. Anything that can get you moving when roads are blocked or traditional transportation is unavailable. Now, securing these items isn't just about having them in a garage. We need to think about potential theft and vandalism, ensuring these vital resources are protected and ready to go when you need them. Think like a seasoned survivalist, creating hidden shelters or camouflage storage solutions. Consider a discreet shed with a hidden entrance, a camouflage tarp covering a motorcycle in a secluded area, or even a false wall in your garage concealing a small vehicle. Remember, your backup transportation is your escape route, your path to safety when all other options are gone. We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring 13 essential items to hide for crisis survival. From vital documents to self-defense tools, each item plays a critical role in your overall preparedness plan. Remember, concealment isn't about paranoia, it's about resilience, about taking control of your safety and security. Think back to our wilderness analogies. A squirrel hides its nuts for winter, not because it's afraid, but because it's smart, ensuring its survival. We, as preppers, are doing the same thing. We're not just hiding supplies, we're safeguarding our future. The art of concealment is about being resourceful, creative, and adaptable. It's about thinking outside the box, finding those unexpected hiding spots that will keep your essential items safe and accessible when you need them most. Remember, in a crisis, knowledge is power, and the ability to conceal and protect your resources can be the difference between surviving and succumbing to the chaos. Remember guys, out in the wild, nature throws its challenges, and in a crisis, the world can feel just as unpredictable. But the key to overcoming any challenge is preparedness. Knowing how to conceal and protect your vital resources is as important as having them in the first place. It's about being one step ahead, thinking like a survivor, using your ingenuity to create a safety net for yourself and your loved ones. Don't underestimate the power of concealment. It's not about hiding in fear. It's about taking control, about being ready for whatever comes your way. So stay vigilant, stay prepared, and remember, the art of concealment can be just as crucial as any survival skill in your arsenal. It's about being invisible when you need to be, about safeguarding your future, one hidden treasure at a time.